Good morning. What is going on, everybody? Thanks for coming back to another video here. Today I'm going to be talking about what knowing your numbers really truly means. I'm coming at you from my hotel out here in Vegas. We're out here at the Deck Expo in Vegas. It is November, and I got some work done before we head to the expo when it opens at 10:30. So anyway, that's what I'm doing here. But the whole thing with knowing your numbers, like you hear a lot of that term thrown around. It's kind of a cliche term. Like you see it in courses, you see it in thrown around in Facebook groups, like in the threads and the comment threads stuff. And I want to just spend a little time talking about what it really means. There's really two components to knowing your numbers. So the first component is budgeting and estimating. The second component is job costing, or comparing estimated versus actual expenses and hours after the job's done. And I'm going to talk about what I mean by each of those two. So the budgeting and estimating component is meaning it's basically saying, hey, you have labor costs and material and product costs every time you do a job. How much do you need to mark up those costs, those hard costs, to also cover your indirect costs or your overhead costs, like marketing expenses, fuel, insurance, shop rent, owner's pay, office admin pay, all these expenses you have just to be in business and keep the doors open, keep the lights on, need to be recovered somehow in your markup. So the whole point of knowing your numbers in the budgeting and estimating aspect is to build a budget, and the budget is going to tell you. Let me back up. Building a budget means, what are your sales goals? What are your labor expenses? What are your material expenses for the year? What are your overhead expenses for the year? And you plug all that in, and then what the budget tells you is, okay, you need to mark up your labor and material, like your direct costs, by X percentage to also cover your overhead, so that your cost times overhead recovery markup percentage equals your break even. Then you can add your profit markup to that, and bam, you got your customer's price. What a lot of people do is mark up their direct costs for materials and labor by, I don't know, say a 30 or 40 or 50% markup. So they have cost plus profit markup, but they're not actually considering accurately how much it actually costs them to be in business. So what often happens is it's cost plus profit markup, and what they don't realize is that the overhead costs suck most of, if not all, of the profits back out, and you're left barely breaking even. So the whole point is to accurately mark up your cost to accurately recover your overhead, so that what you think is going to be your net profit truly actually is your net profit, and that cash actually is in your bank account. So a symptom is if you have done a ton of work and you think you should have a ton of profit and there's no cash in your bank account, that might be a first place to check. So once you have this information, you can then take and bid a job and say, okay, here's all my costs for labor, materials, blah, blah, blah. Mark it up at my overhead recovery markup percentage. There's my break even. Add my profit. There's my customer's price. Easy peasy. But we're not done yet. You can do all of that math just right, and you could still screw it up to where you don't actually make the profit that you need to make. How that could happen is, let's say I bid a job and I say it's going to take 80 man hours. So I put 80 man hours in my bid, my 80 times my hourly rate, all right? And the job actually takes 110 man hours. That extra cost for that extra 30 man hours completely wipes out and blows away, in my hypothetical example, all the profit that you were going to make, okay? So it leaves you in the same situation. You did an estimate, you did all the math correctly, but you got the quantity of something wrong and blew away your profit. So the second key component to knowing your numbers is the job costing, which means after the job is done, you compare, well, during the job, you're tracking your actual expenses and hours. Then after the job's done, you compare your estimated hours and expenses versus your actual hours and expenses to figure out where you went right and where you went wrong, so you don't make the same mistake over and over and over again. And then if you realize that, hey, the last three jobs, I ran over my man hours by 20%. And so on my next job, I'm going to compensate and adjust for that and increase my estimated man hours by 20% to make up for that. And bam, now I'm actually making the profit that I wanted to make to begin with. So that's really the two components. Is knowing your numbers really just means budgeting so that you're estimating correctly with correct markup percentages to cover your overhead accurately, and then job costing to make sure that you're actually putting the correct amount of the correct quantity of hours and expenses and products into your bids, so that your profit isn't being blown away by inaccurate estimating on quantities. Because you could get it wrong in both places. Both of them can equally wipe out your profit and leave you scratching your head as to what in the world happened, where's my money? And so, yeah, that's really what knowing your numbers means: budgeting, job costing. And you can do this manually. I have a free course on hardscaper.com. I'll link it in the notes below of how you can do this. Like, I teach this, like, this whole video is just showing you like what it means, but I have a whole course that's free on hardscaper.com that teaches all the nuts and bolts of how you can build your budget and how you can job cost. Or we also have free budgeting and job costing tools on our website. I'll link those below as well. And so you can do this manually, yourself. But if you're struggling and you're not making the profit that you know you need to make, and you're ready for a change, then we have a full-time staff at Synced Up that helps you dial this in and figure this out for your company. Helps, like, it's almost like a consultant session where we help you build your budget and we help you make sure that you're estimating correctly, and we teach you how you can track your estimated versus actual. And the estimated versus actual job costing happens automatically in the Synced Up mobile app and web app. So if that's you, we can definitely help. Just drop a comment below or reach out to us directly on our website at syncedup.com, and we'll give you a hand. But yeah, hopefully this video was helpful just to kind of set the proper perspective and context as to what knowing your numbers really means. I know it's a cliche term that gets thrown around a lot, and I just wanted to kind of drop a little bit of context and hopefully help clarify that up for you if that's what you needed. So I am going to go and man the booth at the Vegas show now. Thanks for watching. If you like this kind of content, hit that like button, hit subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know how this landed with you, if it was helpful or not. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks.